good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
Oh, you're so cool, Brewster! Everybody's a suspect! Hey, Ted, where the hell's Corkscrew? Don't fuck with the Chuck!
Friday the 13th Part 3, or Part 3D, however you want to call it, came out in 1982, and Steve Miner is returning to direct this one. This was the first movie that nobody says the name Jason. Completely blew my mind. It's Jason, it's up Friday the 13th. You'd expect to hear Jason. I do not remember hearing it at all. Harry Manfredini returns to do the score, and his work in the Friday the 13th films are fucking amazing because he uses like really strong screeches with his, I don't know, his sound. I don't know, I love it. I love it a lot. They hired a new stuntman to play Jason because they were too cheap to fly out the previous guy. They just didn't want to pay for his airfare. So they hired a 6'3" former English trapeze artist named Richard Brooker. And I like his portrayal of Jason. It's not my favorite, but I do like his portrayal a lot. And Friday the 13th Part 3 is one of the stronger entries in the franchise, in my personal opinion. Just like the beginning, it recaps the ending of Part 2, just like Part 2's beginning recapped the ending of Part 1. So you're kind of fresh on what's like leading into it. So the movie starts with a store owner couple, Harold and Edna. Edna is just this like real ruthlessly mean character for no reason. And we see Harold, who's just this big goof. We see him eating fish food. Yeah, fish food. And we see him eat all their food on the shelves and like opening up orange juice and putting it back on the shelf. And it's just a big like, what the fuck? We get to see Jason in his new form, and as the series goes on, you see his appearance change. Some drastic, like as the later ones go, it's really different. I like this like lumbering, goofy, bald guy with like a really fat neck. I don't know, it's just like very off-putting. We get to meet some of the new counselors, Shelly, Andy, Chris, Vera, Debbie, Chuck, and Chili. They're on the way to Camp Crystal Lake. They're driving down the road and they see some fucking just random bum sleeping in the middle of the street. So they get out to check on him, and it's kind of like an homage to Crazy Ralph, because this guy wakes up and he's like a messenger of God or something, and he's like holding like an eyeball, puts it literally in your face because it's a 3D movie, and the 3D in this movie is like ridiculous. It's like every 5 minutes, there's so many unnecessary shots that are in 3D that definitely have no reason to be in 3D. They arrive at the camp and they're greeted by Rick, who just immediately scares Chris. When he scares her, he like immediately just starts like making out with her. And it's just like, yuck, you know? You gotta ease into that, man. You can't just scare someone and then jump right into it. It's not how it works. But she ends up like shooting him down all the fucking time in this movie. She keeps referencing how she's been there before, and you get to see throughout the movie, like any sudden noise, jump scare, anything, she like freaks out. She's really paranoid. All I hear is scream. They all go inside the house. They realize that it's Shelly pulling a prank, and you get to see him coming out of the van, walking up to Andy, like trying to prank everyone. His date Vera gets really like shitty with him. So does the whole gang, really. He's just there to have fun and just like kind of fuck with people, you know, like that's kind of what you do. They just weren't having it, so they took it out on Shelly, and Vera ends up going to the store, and Shelly wants to go with. She says yeah, but we get to see Shelly do this very fucking awkward run. Once they get to the store, they're harassed by like a biker gang. Loco, Fox, and Ali, since, you know, they were fucking with Vera and Shelly. So when they get out of the store, Shelly's like, nah, fuck this. Runs over their bike. They end up following Shelly and Vera back to the camp, or Higgins Haven, like the iconic map in the game. Ali, like, he smashed out his window before he left, and when they get back, Rick sees that his car's smashed. He ends up like, fuck this, I gotta get out of here. So he tries to leave, but Chrissy convinces him to stay. The bikers end up following him back, and they end up siphoning their gas. Fox, who's probably my favorite, she ends up sneaking away to the barn. Loco goes to like, grab her, but we end up seeing that she's dead. Jason gets her. He ends up getting Loco too. Ali gets there. He dies, and I'm doing this because he's not technically dead yet. Rick and Chrissy go to some isolated area to talk. She explains like what her trauma is with her being at Camp Crystal Lake and that Higgins Haven cabin, whatever. She explains what her trauma is, and we can see Jason attacking her, but she ends up getting away. Shelly ends up telling Vera that he likes her a lot.
I like you a lot.
But she shuts that shit down right quick.
I don't think so.
So she ends up going outside to get fresh air. Shelly pranks her, and this is the first time we get to see the infamous hockey mask. Shelly goes to the barn because he sees someone in there. It's the last time we see him for a minute. Vera ends up dropping Shelly's wallet in the lake. She goes in to get it, and we can see Jason with full form with his mask on and a fucking harpoon gun.
Friggin' harpoon guns?
But yeah, he shoots her in the fucking eye, and that's the VHS rewind moment.
Clear.
Because you get to see the arrow come, you get to see the string, everything. It's so fucking just funny, and the effects of it going in her eye, solid, fucking solid. Chuck, who's this major stoner in the movie, he wakes up from his nap and goes outside to take a poopy. His girl, Chili, goes out. They think that they see Shelly in the barn, so they want to prank the prankster. They realize that no one's in the barn, so they end up going back to the cabin. Andy and Deb are finishing up having sex. Andy goes to get some beer, but he's always walking on his hands in this movie. He's always doing a handstand and just walking through the house. But he goes to get some beer for them, and when he comes back, Jason literally, I don't get it because he chops him, but when you see Andy's body later, he's cut in half. Maybe I just overlooked it, but to me that doesn't make sense. Debbie gets out of the shower. She's laying in the hammock because there's no bed. They recreate Kevin Bacon's death from the first movie. Jason comes out underneath and he sticks a knife right through her chest, and you get to see it raise up and the blade come out real slow. The practical effects in this movie, just like the whole series, fucking top notch, man. Rick and Chrissy are heading back to the cabin. Chuck goes to check the fuse box, and we get this amazing fucking shot and such a good jump scare. They turn the light on, you see Jason behind them right underneath the light. Out of the whole series, that's probably one of the strongest just single frames of the film, of the series I should say. Just that whole sequence of him throwing in the fuse box, so fucking cool. Shelly ends up going in the house, and we see his throat slit, and Chili does the most incredible top tier acting. Leo DiCaprio, my favorite actor, he couldn't fucking master this. But she ends up running her up and down the stairs for some fucking reason. Jason stabs her right in the stomach with a hot fire poker. I mean, I wish we would get to see more of it, but it's just kind of a quick death. Since it was a really hot fire poker, I would like to see it kind of do more damage, I guess. Rick and Chrissy are back at the cabin, and they're trying to find everybody, but they can't find anyone. So Rick thinks that they're outside somewhere, so he goes outside to look around. And you're never supposed to split up in a fucking horror movie. Ugh! Chrissy goes outside to find him, and Jason's got him on the side of the house, covering his mouth, and he squeezes his head so fucking hard, his eyeball pops out. It looks good, and it looks god-awful. I don't know, I'm indifferent about it. I like the kill, I like how they did it, but I wish they would have done it a lot better. Chrissy starts finding body after body, and then she comes face to face with Jason. Now we're in the final showdown. She ends up hiding in a closet. He breaks through the door. She stabs him in the hand and starts walking at him, doing an X motion. And you see Jason ducking and weaving everything. But she ends up stabbing him in the thigh. She jumps out the window, gets in the van, and since the biker gang siphoned all their gas, she only went so far. She got stuck on the bridge. Jason catches up, tries to attack her. She gets away yet again. She goes to the barn. She kind of barricades herself in, but Jason gets in and he ends up locking him. So now she can't escape. She's got nowhere to go. It's just them in this room, which is fucking smart on his end. And I know he's a big idiot. She ends up bonking him in the head with a shovel, and she ties a noose around his neck and pushes him out the barn. You would think with how heavy and how fall the drop is that his neck would snap. It doesn't. But his neck's this fucking fat in the movie. She like tries to go out the front door of the barn and realizes that he's not dead. He unmasks and she ends up running back in the barn. As he's coming after her, we see Ali making his return for about 3.5 seconds. Jason ends up cutting his hand off and just starts beating him. Chrissy, she takes an axe, hits him right in the fucking forebrain with it, giving it the iconic slash mark in his mask. She ends up taking the canoe that's right there at the lake and has like a little canoe nap. She's out 10-15 feet from the shore. She wakes up and we get to see Jason. And I really wish that this is how the movie would have ended. Jason, still alive, run out the barn, kicks the door open, starts chasing her, full on sprint. Just the way he looks and like that size of a man just chasing you, you'd piss your pants, you know? But she's trying to like fucking paddle away in this little canoe. She ends up realizing that's all one big hallucination. We get to see her recreating Alice's death from the first one. Mrs. Voorhees coming out, grabbing her, tipping the canoe over. But that was all in her head, just like Jason running. Is that the end of Jason? Absolutely fucking not. It's Jason Voorhees, come on, dude. But the strong points of this film, the music, the effects, the atmosphere, and I like a lot of the characters. A couple of them I didn't like. The weak point is the obnoxious amount of 3D that's in this movie. Some of the acting's kind of, as my brother Austin would say, it's kind of mid. Yeah, this has been my review for Friday the 13th Part 3. I'm gonna do Friday the 13th Part 4, which is my personal favorite. Just like many others, that's best in the series. The final chapter rocks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and until then, see you later.